Hey, welcome back. Today I want to share 5 things I learned creating corporate videos. I recently sat down and calculated how many videos I made in the past 2 years, and it exceeded 25. And so these are talking head videos, these are almost documentary style videos, these are usually or live streaming videos. And I spent the past year filming it on my Fuji X-T3 or the camera right behind me, my Fuji X-T3. And 5 things I learned, so let's start. So number 1, story is important. A lot of the video work I do, we don't really have time to sit down and storyboard or outline even. And so a lot of it is just getting in a room, getting ready for a talking head. So a lot of the secret magic sauce is spending that time to quickly outline what we want our audience to think, feel, do, and then quickly get to an outline and potentially get into a set of talking points. It really depends on who the speaker is. Myself, I am not a very good speaker, and so that requires me to prep, or I'm going to fumble through just like in this video. But I'm cool with that. And for others, they naturally can snap on and off. And for others, it's really like pulling teeth. And so what I've learned is working with the right person, understanding where they're at in their curve of storytelling, public speaking, and working to their strengths. So number 2, I'm going to make this a little bit fun, is always remember to hit record. I've actually worked on a project in this past year where I had someone speak for almost 20 minutes on camera, and when I looked up at it, I said, oh my gosh, I think I forgot to hit record, and do you mind redoing that 20-minute presentation? Fortunately, that person was really cool about it, and we saw it as a rehearsal, and so we did it a second take. Second take was actually better, so I really lucked out, but it could have been a really bad fluff and bomb. And so I have always now double checked. I have a checklist. I'm going to check things like, do I have the right settings? Is the shutter speed correct? Is ISO bumped into something crazy? I've done that before. I had ISO set to the max, and so you had a grainy video. And so lots of stupid little things like that. I now just put into a production checklist, and I run through them before every time. So think of your pilot on a plane. They're going to go through a methodical checklist of everything they need to do. And I definitely do that before my videos now. So number 3, get good video. And so I think I use the Fuji system, but it really could be anything. You definitely could be shooting on your phone, and we've done that quite a bit of just shooting on a phone. But what's really important is using high quality glass. In this case, I have a Fuji 14 millimeter f1.4. Behind me I have 16 to 55 2.8. Just really good glass. In here I also have a good ND filter, and so let me show you what happens when I filter right like that. In that case, if you're shooting outside, you can think of it as sunglasses for your camera. So again, there are a lot of things that I have learned over the years in terms of how do you capture good quality video. Stabilization is another one. I have my gimbal set up here if I ever film something handheld, or the camera behind me is on a rig, which means it's pretty heavy, it's weighty, and it gets rid of that micro jitter if you were to hand hold your camera. So one thing I learned is simply, even if you hold your camera, or even worse, you hold your phone, the smaller the object is, you're going to pick up all those micro jitters, and your video is going to feel just slightly off, unprofessional. And so I use either a gimbal, or I rig up my camera, or in this case it's sitting on a tripod. Best scenario, I think, if you're doing a talking head, is just put on a tripod, set it and forget it. Number 4, get good audio. I think when I started out, just use the default camera. I think there's a mic somewhere in here, or I switched to, let's see if I can find it, a boom mic that sits on top of my camera. Definitely decent for a running gun, but you want to get your mic as close as possible. That's why when I'm creating this video here, you have this mic that's going to an external recorder, eventually setting up to my camera. It's set for the right levels, and I have my mouth pretty close to the mic. I'm okay for this video for it to be in frame, but if you're doing it out, I also have a boom mic that's sitting up there that's out, definitely it's sitting right about here in my frame, that can also pick up audio as well. But definitely the closer you get your audio, the better. and a lot of people recommend this Audio Technica ATR 2100. It's a USB mic. If you're doing any kind of podcasting work, this is my go-to. It plugs into a USB into your computer, and you get your speaker to talk into this mic. Now, a lot of people don't like and think it's unprofessional to have a mic like this. My opinion is, I think having audio that's good is more important than having just that video, and you're worried about what the looks like with a mic. I've also used, I have a Sennheiser G3. There's new models now, but it's a professional Lav Mic kit, and you plugged it in. Gonna get a little technical, but the technical term is omnidirectional. This mic picks up voice and audio in every direction, because you really don't know, it doesn't know where the speaker is. And so when you're plugging it to your talent and it's plugged here, it's picking up audio everywhere within their head in that space. And one thing I learned is sometimes I'm recording in a office environment and HVAC can't be turned off, and so this mic is really sensitive and it picks up the HVAC sound, which is really obnoxious and annoying to clean up in post, sometimes impossible. Audio is definitely a profession itself. That's why there's audio guys or audio people. That's why there's video people. Those are two separate trades, but when you are a solo practitioner like myself, you got to learn to do both and be able to rig up whatever system works for you in the moment. Finally, number 5 is lighting. I think lighting is underrated and hard, but number one key trick when I am advising others to do their own video work is to get your camera and get your talent as close to natural light as possible. Behind me here I have a window that's shining a little bit of ambient light, but I also have an LED light over here that's behind a diffuser. I got a light that's sitting down on the ground here to reflect to this wall, and behind me I have a pink Philips Hue light that's kind of creating some visual interest. More than likely, if you're a run and gun video shooter like myself, you're not going to have time to bring all this equipment. And even if you do bring your equipment, what happens is the more equipment you have, the more intimidating it is for your talent. And I find, going back to number 1 story, is if you create an environment that is too uncomfortable for your talent, ultimately the content is not going to be very good. So best case scenario, get a tripod to stabilize your video, get your talent close to a window, now with natural light, or be outside, and get a mic as close to them as possible. Whether you use a wireless lav or a wired lav, or even better, you're able to get a boom mic or a condenser mic like this in this case. Let's recap 5 things: a story, have a checklist or press record, get good video, good audio, and then good lighting. Now those are really big, they're not really tips, but those are key core components of producing video that I've learned over the past couple years. I have a lot more to go. There are professionals on YouTube that's going to give much better content, but I wanted to give a beginner's view. I learned this over the past 3 years, and definitely have made a lot of mistakes in producing those videos. The first video was atrocious and definitely filmed with a smartphone, and it's gotten better as I increased and rigged out my equipment and became more and more professional. But I always go back to the story, and I always go back to using as little equipment as possible. I think when you're working with a production crew, they're gonna take a long time, set up a lot of rig, set up a lot of equipment, and your talent is gonna be really scared. When I'm sitting and there's a giant light box coming at me and a mic pointed at me and a whole bunch of people staring at me, I'm scared. And so I like to do a one-person show where it's a basic camera, some good audio, and stand near natural light, and that way try to be more natural and have the person speak to me behind the camera versus simply staring at the camera. Now I personally have problems staring at the camera. I'm always looking at other locations, or I'm looking at my recorder, and so I definitely know it's a challenge for everyone. So just learn to be to go with the flow, and it's a learning process. And if you have any questions, leave some comments below. Give me a like. Let me know if you like the series or not, and I'll definitely be sharing more in the future. Thanks.